Michael Eric Dyson, where are we on race relations in America in light of what's just happened here?
Well, it's obviously a very tense time. Look, what's happening there is not simply about St. Louis, but it's about the nation. And St. Louis is emblematic, or at least Ferguson is emblematic of those larger shifts. You got white flight of a formerly predominantly white suburb. It's now, 65% black. You've got 22% poverty. You've got the over-policing of an entire community who feel racially harassed by the police. Every 28 hours across America, a black person is killed by a security guard, a police officer, or some other executive of the state or police force. So this is an extraordinarily incendiary situation. And look at what's been done. The militarization to which you referred earlier has revealed itself to be something that's not effective when applied to American citizens. On top of that, the tone-deaf police chief, the tone-deaf mayor, and the tone-deaf governor have not added anything to the situation. We understand they're in very difficult situations. He did, that is the governor, bring Ron Johnson in. I'm from the community. I understand your plight and predicament. Let me keep the peace while also understanding what you have to say is legitimate. And finally, I yearn for more response from the White House. This president knows better than most what happens in poor communities that have been, antagonized historically by the hostile relationship between black people and the police department. It is not enough for him to come on national television and pretend that there's a false moral equivalency between police people who are armed and black people who are vulnerable constantly to this. He needs to use his bully pulpit to step up and to articulate this as a vision, not necessarily in terms of public policy alone, because Eric Holder is doing a tremendous job in filling in those gaps. But we need presidential leadership. He needs to step up to the plate and be responsible.
I think Michael is exactly right that you can't create this trust at the last minute, but you can make the situation way worse at the last minute. And that is exactly what we saw here. Cornell Brooks talked about the Keystone Cops and not being rude to the Keystone Cops. The difference is that the Keystone Cops did not have rubber bullets and SWAT gear and armored vehicles. And that's a very, very dangerous thing. And you have this paradox of the federal government simultaneously providing, and I think this is a very useful time to reconsider the provision of this military equipment to jurisdictions around the country and making sure if they have it, they know when it's appropriate to use and when it's not appropriate to use. And then the important role of the administration and the Justice Department in coming in. I think this news about the autopsy is very welcome. The FBI agents on the ground are very welcome. I would say the only point on which I disagree slightly with what's been said before is I think the president has actually struck a very good balanced tone here, because he is at the head of a criminal investigation and he doesn't want to go too far in overstepping the bounds there, while he wants to make sure that he calms the waters. I think that the distinction between the tone that the administration has set here and the tone from state and local authorities, with the exception of Captain Johnson in Missouri, has been very, very striking.
Right. I'm not talking about the tone alone, though that's critical. The president is always cool under fire, usually by bigoted racists who are assaulting him from various plates along the ideological spectrum. What I'm talking about, though, is leadership. That's not simply a matter of tone, because the reality is there is no functional equivalence between police people who are armed to the teeth with military-grade weaponry, trained at vulnerable black communities who are inflamed now as a result of decades of negligence. The president has a responsibility to say, look, this is one of the key points we expect of him because of his unique experience. As an African-American male, I know what it means to not have an autopsy report released. I know what it means to have a young man besmirched posthumously with no relationship that we can tell between what that was about on that camera and how he died. And I'm saying to you that if he could inform American society that, look, yes, we must keep the law. Yes, we must keep the peace. People must calm their passion. But let me explain to you why people might be hurt, why they might be angry, and why they might be upset. That's his responsibility to tell that truth, regardless of what those political fallouts will be.
I guess the facts of what they're doing to me, the FBI agents, the investigation, the second autopsy, speak even more loudly than anything the president might be able to say.
No, it's not either or. The president can do, look at LBJ. Look at, for God's sake, look at even what Nixon did vis-a-vis affirmative action, but look at what John F. Kennedy did. Look at what Bill Clinton did. No, there's not an either or. You can deploy political strategies and public policies that at the same time we need his leadership, his vision, his unique style. He's an oratorical genius. Deploy that in defense of the people from whom he learned that oratorical genius and to defend those vulnerable populations, especially white people whose white privilege in one sense obscures from them what it means that their children can walk home every day and be safe. They're not fearful of the fact that somebody will kill their child who goes to get some iced tea and some candy from a store. Until that quality is brought, the president bears a unique responsibility and burden to tell that truth.